Hi, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited for this one. This is all around how to collapse time, how to have results happen fast, and really what I did and how I looked at things to make that happen for myself. People ask me all the time, like, I'm 5 years running deep on questions like, how did you build your business to multiple six figures in the first year? How did you go from insecure to confident so fast? How did you, and this is a new one, how did you just add like $15,000, $20,000 to your monthly income in just 90 days? How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do it all so fast? And I feel like people are always expecting me to give them some magic answer, but I'm going to give you the magic answer. I'm going to give it to you here in this episode because today we are literally talking about how people actually get results fast. And it's not because they're more disciplined or more motivated or more special. It's because they understand something that most people miss. You are not short on time. You are not short on opportunity. You are not short on chances. You are surrounded by them. But the people who make results happen fast actually see them and use them. So every single day, I want you to know, and you're going to get from this episode, you have hundreds of moments every single day where you could get the results that you want, but most people waste all of them because no one ever showed them what to look for, and that's what we're doing today. But the thing that I need you to know is that if you're someone who you genuinely want results, you want the body, you want the disciplined mind, you want to turn heads when you walk in a room, you want to have a really big business, you want to have a personal brand, you want to get the brand deals, you want to have a bank account that is really, really sexy. You want to know that if you want something in life, you can literally just have it and other people are inspired by you. They want your confidence, they want your discipline, they want your relationship, they want your life. You're inspiring others. You're literally living the life that you once dreamed of. If you want to be that person, I am so serious right now. Don't just be a mindless consumer of this podcast. I'm just going to be so real. The best room for you to be in is Fiera. I would get in my program, in my community, because you're going to hear in this episode, results can genuinely happen so fast. And people tell me all the time, they're like, I'm so sick of my shit. I'm so sick of this. I wish I was further. Like, there's a way. My clients literally get results so fast. They become the people who other people look at and are in awe of. They're like, holy shit, I want to do that. I have girls go from being on the outside of my community and saying, I wish I could be like that one. And I wonder if I can be that. So they actually end up joining and then they become that inspiration and that permission slip for others because we teach you how to get results fast. This episode's going to give you some of that, but I'm just so serious. You can either sit on the sidelines and say, one day I'll get there, one day I'll get there. Or this can literally be your day one where you join Fiera, you become the version of yourself who you've been dying to become. You build yourself into someone who can get results. They have that hot girl mentality, the hot guy mentality. They know how to step up for themselves. They know how to make it happen. They know how to collapse time. You just become one of those people who everyone is just they're like, shit, how did they do that? If you want to become one of those people, join Fiera because that is where we do it. And I'm saying this now in this episode because so many people are just going to passively listen to this. They're going to passively listen to this and they're going to want and wish for results. And so many people wish and want for results, but they don't create them. If you actually want to be someone who gets off your ass, who creates them, and within the next 3 to 6 to 12 months, you are living a completely new life where you have a different car, you have a different apartment, you have a very different bank account, you have an entirely different career, you have a new relationship, you have a very, very different body, you have a different energy about you. That is what everyone's doing inside. That's what everyone's doing inside. And we give you everything that you need. We literally give you actions every single day. We give you the videos. We give you the trainings that you need, the community, the support. You're talking to me every single week. If you want me in your corner every single week, come join because it's one thing to say that you want results. It's a whole other thing to actually get in the room, do the work and build it up and make it happen bigger, better, faster than you've ever imagined. So I need you to know that going into this episode and just kind of ask yourself, am I someone who's going to keep saying one day I'll get there, one day I'll have results like that? Or am I literally going to lock in and make it mine? Okay, let's fully dive in now that we know that. So when I first decided to become confident, because this episode's really going to focus on my journey and how I did this. Because when I was in my early 20s, I was such an insecure little thing. I struggled with eating disorders and emotional eating. I was in toxic relationships. I had been harassed. I was just down bad in such a horrible way. I was always anxious. I was always depressed. I was always overwhelmed. I can't even recognize. I am truly the definition of unrecognizable. If my old self walked in the room, no one, if you put the personality 1 behind a closed door and personality 2 behind closed door, no one would recognize it as me. I was just completely different. And I made a decision one day where I finally decided I was done wishing and wanting and saying, one day I'll be this, and one day I'll get there, and one day, and one day, and one day. And I decided full body, I made a full commitment of I'm going to make myself confident. Not I'll work on my confidence, not I'll try and feel better about myself. It was I'm not living like this anymore. I made that full body decision. I'm not living like this anymore. I'm not doing this shit anymore. I'm not accepting less anymore. I'm not being this person anymore because I didn't like it. I was done with it. And as soon as I made that commitment, I started noticing it was like freaking magic. I started noticing all these micro moments that I was once invisible to around how my behavior was keeping me stuck. My old behaviors, my old insecurities, my old sabotage, my old patterns started becoming abundantly clear once I made this decision. And most of you guys listening, I love you to death. I love you. I love you. Love you. I believe in you endlessly. I believe in you more than you believe in yourself, but you've not made that decision yet. So I full body decided. And then it started becoming so clear that there were literally hundreds, if not thousands, of moments in a day where I was not being who I said I wanted to be. And it was things like how I spoke to myself in the mirror, how I shrunk myself in conversations, the way I would avoid eye contact with people, how I was over explaining things at work, or how I would negotiate in my head whether or not I was going to speak up, the way I backed out of things that I actually wanted, how I chose comfort instead of courage, and all these thousands of decisions over and over again every single day. And once I already made that commitment and I started seeing these things, I started shifting. I started having all these moments where it was so clear of, oh my God, this is who I'm being. I want to be someone new. I can do this. I can just start making these little different decisions. And what I ended up realizing once I started seeing it is realized I was swimming in opportunity. I was literally, I showed myself, it's almost like I was being handed hundreds of moments every single day, surrounded by them, more than I could even comprehend, of opportunities to become someone new. There were so many chances every day in the choices I was making, in the way that I was thinking, in the decisions that I had, in the little moments where I was like, I can either keep being who I am, and I know how this plays out, or I can become who I say I want to be. And remember, I made a full body decision of I'm not living like this anymore. I am becoming someone new. And so what I realized is that there are thousands of opportunities every single day for you to become someone new. And the reality is, and how I'm going to talk about it for this episode is, let's pretend there's not thousands, even though there are, based on the choices you make in a day, the thoughts that you think, the way you speak up, the way you react, all of it. Let's pretend you wake up every single day with 250 chances. That's more manageable in our brains. You have 250 chances every single day to make a new decision that brings you closer to who you want to be, that acts more in line with the results you say you want. And to just be so abundantly clear with what I mean by this, if you say you are someone who you want to be making $50,000 a month, if you want to have a very leaned out, sexy body, if you are someone who you want such a healthy relationship, if you are someone who you want to make content full time, there is a version of you of that who exists. And you need to be very clear on how do they speak to themselves? What do they think about challenges? How do they handle rejection and failure and setback? How do they spend their time? How do they make decisions around their body? How do they speak to their body? How do they think about money? How do they speak to their partner? How do they handle their bad days? It's just really knowing all of that. And if you don't know exactly who that person is, no big deal. A lot of us we've never been that version before, right? Maybe you've never made that 50K. Maybe you've never been disciplined. Maybe you don't know that, but you just simply have to know, what would the version of who I want to be doing differently than me in this moment? That's it. And you don't need to fully know. You just need to have an idea and start making those little decisions. So let's say that there's 250 chances for you in a given day to make a decision more in line with who you say you want to be than who you are today. Today alone, 250 chances. And what I realized this did for me is it flipped the game from, oh, one day I'll get there, one day I'll get there, one day I'll get there. And kind of asking the question of like, would I ever get there? And is this even possible for me? And do I even have what it takes? To flipping it to, I'm literally surrounded by an abundance of opportunity to make it happen so ridiculously fast. It was abundant. I have an abundance more than I can comprehend, opportunities to become who I want to be. And when you understand this, everything speeds up. This is how you collapse time. So when people ask, how did you grow so fast? How did you do it? How did all of this happen for you so fast? How did you literally 10x your results? How did you do this? How did you do that? I don't understand. I don't understand. It's not possible for me. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Right? How you speak to yourself if you mess up, that's a rep. That's an opportunity in your day to shift how you would act. How you shift your belief around a goal, what you say to yourself, that's another rep. How you respond differently rather than just blindly react how you usually do, that's another rep. That's 3 instances in one day, and you have those 250. So when people ask, how did I grow so fast? This is how I maximized my use of opportunities in any given day. The truth of the matter is, people in the personal development world and people who are wanting to build businesses and people who are wanting to build brands and people who are really wanting to build these bigger lives, most people will do like 10 reps a day. And even if you did 10 reps a day for 90 days, you'll feel some growth. You'll notice some changes. But if you really want to work this process, you really, really want to get where I did and have that collapse time, that feeling of like, it's my effing turn. It's my turn and I have that expansive, crazy growth, then you're going to have to do what I did where I was getting in 100, 200 reps in a given day. Because when you do that, that's a completely different nervous system. That's a completely different person with a completely new life in not a lot of time. And I didn't need to be perfect. I just needed to win more reps than I was losing in that day. And I actually want you to replay the last 3 minutes a couple times. Let it sink in because I just handed you a formula to change so fast. It's right there. But will you do it? I'm not going to coddle you on this. Will you actually do it? 95% of you won't. 95% of you. And again, I believe in you. You can do it, but you'll hear this episode and you'll be inspired and you'll be motivated, but you'll still just do like 5 to 10 reps a day. But you say you want it big. You say you want it big. But here's what's actually happening. So many people, quote unquote, know what to do, but they don't do it. And let's just talk about that. The reason why you hear this episode and you won't do it is because you struggle to let go of the version of yourself that you're protecting. And that doesn't get talked about enough. Because when people say the thing of like, I know what to do, I just don't do it, we treat it like it's some motivation issue. It's not, it's a loyalty issue. You are loyal to who you are right now. You are loyal to patterns that feel familiar. You are loyal to habits that keep you stuck. You are loyal to the current version of yourself. Because the truth is you're probably afraid of the next version. Even if your patterns today are frustrating and they are keeping you in a miserable state, even if you swear up and down you want more. You don't think girls in my DMs swear they want more, but then 6 months later, they're still in the same spot. 18 months later, they're still in the same spot. People don't avoid this because it's hard. It's not hard. Those little reps are genuinely so easy. They feel so good. It gives you so much dopamine. It builds your identity so much. You get results so fast. People avoid it because they still actually like their current patterns. They like to stay comfortable. Their familiar still feels like home. And you don't leave home until you have grown it. So many people will come to me and be like, Mackenzie, no, I don't. I don't benefit from my patterns. I don't want them anymore. Well, then stop doing them. Stop doing them. If you're telling me that you don't want these patterns and there's no benefit and you don't get why you keep them, but you still keep them, you're not yet at the place that I talked about at the beginning of this episode. You are not yet at the place where you reach that point where you're like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. I am done. I reached that decision where it was no longer acceptable for me to stay who I was. It was no longer an option to not hit my goals. It was no longer an option or even on the table for me to not become the confident version who I wanted to become. You are still letting it be a negotiable thing. Because these small reps, choosing to shift your thought a little bit, choosing to shift your self-talk a little bit, choosing to respond differently, choosing to wake up a little earlier, choosing to actually go to the gym because you actually want the body that you want. All of these things are so easy. They're so simple. They're so simple. But we like to think that change takes this massive overhaul and all these crazy things. But if I give the simple answer of, you got 250 reps today, get more reps in. It'll change your nervous system. It'll change your identity. It'll change how you feel. It'll change how you talk to yourself. And that will lead to a change in your life. You still won't do it because you're still negotiating on that. When I started this journey, I wasn't like, wow, I'm going to be a 7-figure entrepreneur. I wanted that at some point, but I just made it non-negotiable that I wasn't going to say who I was, and I was going to become a confident person who, when I walked in a room, people were going to notice, who did not struggle to speak up, who you could feel that energy. That's all I really wanted. And I did that so hardcore and so fast that it led me to this life. Don't half want it and half retreat. You have to fully, fully go after it. And things change once you do. So when you see people online who look calm and grounded and confident and they're making the money and they're taking the trips and they just have that like it factor, they're magnetic, they seem to collapse time on things. It's really easy to think must be nice. They're just built different. It's easier for them. They're different than me. They don't have this, they don't have that. That person's not different. She's not built different. What you're actually seeing is someone who stopped treating their life like everything was up for debate. They don't wake up every day asking, do I feel like it? The people who get what they want aren't necessarily more disciplined or capable than you, but they do want a different life so badly that the old one stops being satisfying. They want it. They want it more than you. They want it more than their familiar patterns. They make more decisions every little day in those micro moments to close the gap on who they want to be. I just shared on my stories the other day wins of multiple people who joined Fiera in the last 30 days alone. Just in the last 30 days. And I specifically highlighted their wins. What I had showed is that one of them is earning her highest income ever now and flew herself to Paris. Another one just made 25% of last year's income in January alone. That's insane. Another ended a relationship and is actually now dating with deeper self-respect. Another is hosting a paid Galentine's brunch and is selling that out, which I think is so cool that you're just hosting a brunch at your house and you're making money off of it. And one, I think the last one that I shared was one just landed a brand deal with a hotel in Mexico. And the reason that I shared those specifically and that I'm talking about them here is because all people who are just wanting it badly enough that they're done choosing the familiar. And they're working so much of what we share inside around building the mentality, building up yourself, following the processes that we show inside, building up the self-respect, the self-trust. They're using my courses on discipline, on business, on brand, on all these things. And it's happening fast. They want the results more than they're familiar, so they make different choices every day. And they have the community and the support system actually needed to make that their new normal, their new standard. And if you, oh my God, I love you, but if you chalk this up to, well, those girls are probably ahead of me and they must have had something figured out. Notice how that's literally just you making yourself comfortable again rather than being like, damn, she must have wanted it more. Time for me to want it more. Time for me to put myself in the room. They put themselves in the room. I will never forget when one client who was considering joining Fiera came to me and she said she was really debating back and forth because it was scary. It's a risk. It's big to invest. I totally understand that. But she came back to me and she said, you know what? I honestly want the results so much more than I want the money just sitting in my bank account. And I was like, yep, she's going to get the results. And she did. She had spent 3 years earning just $2,000 a month in her business. She joined Fiera, she worked the process, and in I think it was like 3 to 4 months, she was now earning $20,000 a month. And this result happens whether it's you want a different bank account, you want a business, you want a brand, you want a new body, you want to up your relationship, you want to change your confidence, your discipline. It doesn't matter. When you see people looking calm, grounded, making money, making the trips, stop thinking must be nice, because what you're actually seeing is someone who's making the decision once to step up and do something new. They're committed to making success happen for them. They're not wavering on it 37 times a day. They're not, redeciding every 4 hours of like, is this working? Do I feel like it? Is this aligned? What if it doesn't work? They're not entertaining their own bullshit anymore. That's why it looks like ease. Because fast is what happens when you stop leaking energy into your own indecision of what you want more. Comfort, familiar, or the results in the dream life. You're split. That's what's happening. You're half building, half retreating. So it takes a year to produce results that could have been produced in like 30 days. So every time in the last 5 years when people ask, "How did you do it? How did you do it? How is that happening so fast for you? Why is it so easy for you?" It wasn't. It's just that I choose those micro moments. I choose to change my self-talk. I choose to change my belief system. I choose to change my nervous system. I choose to train to become someone who wants it, who is the person who I say I wanna be. I don't negotiate on that. It's not a nice to have. It's not this, like, cute idea. I literally went full force after it. Full force. And that's why it happens fast. That's why I have the money that I do. That's why I have the lifestyle that I do. And I wanna go further. There's still so much more. And I work the same process, the same way that I built this when I was deeply insecure is what I do now to collapse time. You have an abundance of opportunities. You are surrounded by opportunities every single day, but you have to start asking yourself, why am I not using them? You have to actually own and just look yourself in the mirror and be able to say, "You know what? It's been true. I've wanted comfort more than I actually wanted results." Because if you wanted results, you'd be doing the reps and you'd have the results. And if you wanna flip the game, if you want to become someone who you stop saying that you want it and you stop taking years to get it and you stop waiting around and hoping things change and saying one day, one day, one day, and you want it to happen today. You wanna make it next month, the following month. You want it to be this year. You want to do more in 12 weeks than most people do and that the past versions of you have done in an entire year, then you come join Fiera. You come join the room where people do that. You come hop in, you stop making excuses, you stop negotiating on this, you stop making it a maybe, maybe, maybe soon, 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 once this happens, once no, no, no. You gotta want it now. And I'll teach you how to want it now. I'll show you how to collapse the time. You'll be given everything you need inside to join. And whether you join tier 1, where we build more of the self-respect, self-trust, self-belief, the regulation, the bias for action, or whether you join tier 2 where you get everything that you'd possibly need and my courses on the personal branding and monetizing and how I monetize multiple six figures on less than 2,000 followers, whether you get the courses on becoming a relentless person, the mental game to win in all areas of life, the business courses, the money courses, the courses on changing your body and body confidence, that's where you get a lot of bulk of that. It doesn't matter where you join, you're going to get the same results. I literally have had girls make multiple six figures in tier 1, and I've had girls do crazy things in tier 2, tier 3. It doesn't matter. But you've got to decide that it's not a one-day thing anymore. This is day 1. I'm in. I'm going. I'm not going to keep letting other people get this while life passes me by. I'm going to want it because the truth is you have to sit with, I'm not going to live like this anymore. Not because it's bad and awful and all these things, but because you want more and you know you can have more. And rather than making it some fantasy, you're going to make it right now. That's the vibe. That's what I'm leaving you guys with. So you know what to do. Go to the show notes, get in my DMs, get inside Fiera, and put this episode on your stories, leave a rating, leave a review. But I hope to see you inside Fiera after this episode because I do not want to hear how 6 months from now you're still in the same place because you kept making it one day. I'll catch you guys in the next episode.